Welcome, dear friends, to Lotus Light Teachings. Today, let's delve into a fascinating topic that directly impacts the peace, prosperity, and energy of your home. Have you ever wondered whether the objects in your living space could influence your life, positively or negatively? From the seemingly insignificant trinket to cherished antiques, each item carries its own story and energy. But are these energies always harmonious? In this episode, we'll explore 9 specific items that, according to ancient wisdom and modern insights, may disrupt the energy balance of your home. This isn't about superstition. It's about mindfulness, creating a sanctuary where your spirit can thrive. Let's embark on this journey of awareness and transformation together. Have you ever stepped into a room and felt an inexplicable sense of unease, as if something intangible was out of place? Perhaps it wasn't the lighting or the arrangement of furniture, but something more subtle, hidden in plain sight. It could be an old mirror hanging on the wall, a decorative rock from a roadside, or even a cracked piece of jewelry, objects imbued with energies that clash with your space's harmony. Let me share a story. Years ago, I inherited an antique mirror from a distant relative. It was beautiful, ornate, and held sentimental value. Yet, every time I walked past it, I felt a heaviness that I couldn't explain. Over time, I began to notice small disruptions in my life: strained relationships, stagnant projects, and restless nights. Finally, I decided to let it go. I carefully disposed of the mirror and replaced it with a simple piece that reflected light and joy into the room. Almost immediately, the energy in my home shifted, bringing a renewed sense of calm. This experience taught me that the objects we surround ourselves with are more than just decorations. They influence the energy we invite into our lives, shaping our thoughts, feelings, and even the events we encounter. Today, we'll explore the stories behind 9 such items and discover how we can approach them with wisdom and intention. Our homes are extensions of ourselves, a physical representation of our inner world. As such, the items we bring into them hold the power to enhance or disrupt our energy. In Buddhist philosophy, this is deeply tied to the concept of anicca, impermanence. Everything is in a state of constant flux, including the energies that surround us. When we mindlessly accumulate objects, we risk inviting energies that hinder our peace and growth. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine finding a coin on the street. At first, it seems like a small blessing. Yet, many traditions warn against picking up such items because they might carry the burdens or misfortunes of their previous owners. This doesn't mean we should fear every coin, but it invites us to reflect. Are we bringing something into our lives for its true value, or is it just a fleeting temptation? This practice of mindful selection extends to all aspects of life, not just material possessions. By becoming more conscious of what we allow into our spaces, we align our external environment with the peace we seek internally. 1. Found objects, coins, jewelry, and belongings. Imagine a tranquil afternoon, the world around you humming with subtle energy. As you walk, your gaze falls upon a gleaming coin resting on the pavement, or perhaps a delicate piece of jewelry lying abandoned. For a moment, your heart flutters with excitement. What serendipity? But as quickly as the thought arises, a quiet whisper of wisdom reminds you, is this truly a gift, or could it be a lesson? In Buddhist philosophy, nothing exists in isolation. Every object, every experience carries the karma, the energy of its journey. The coin you find on the street is not merely a piece of metal. It is a silent witness to countless hands, intentions, and circumstances. Picking it up is not an act of mere curiosity or fortune. It is an exchange, a subtle acceptance of the energies attached to it. Let me share a personal story. Years ago, while wandering through a crowded marketplace, I stumbled upon a coin that caught my attention. It seemed innocuous, even lucky. I kept it in my pocket, thinking little of it. But in the weeks that followed, life began to feel strangely unsettled. Small setbacks appeared out of nowhere. Miscommunications at work, unexplained fatigue, and a persistent sense of unease. Reflecting deeply, I remembered the coin. Could it have carried the burdens or intentions of someone else? The thought stayed with me, and as an experiment, I returned the coin to the earth, offering a quiet prayer. Gradually, harmony returned to my life. This experience brought me face to face with a core teaching of the Buddha, karma. In the Dhammapada, it is said, "Mind precedes all mental states. Mind is their chief. They are all mind-wrought." The energy we invite into our lives is not limited to our actions but extends to our possessions and environments. When we mindfully choose what to accept and what to release, we align our lives with greater clarity and balance. Practicing detachment becomes key in such situations. The Buddha taught that craving and clinging lead to suffering. By resisting the impulse to take what isn't ours, whether it's a coin or a piece of jewelry, we cultivate an inner abundance far richer than material gain. If you encounter such objects, consider them with mindfulness. Are they truly meant for you? Or are they an opportunity to practice generosity by leaving them for someone else or returning them to their rightful place? In our modern lives, detachment might feel counterintuitive. We are conditioned to accumulate, to see value in possession. Yet, letting go is not loss. It is liberation. When we loosen our grip on external things, we create space for what truly matters: peace, wisdom, and compassion. 2. Cracked mirrors, reflections of instability. In the quiet corners of many homes, mirrors hang as silent witnesses to daily life. They capture fleeting moments, a quick glance, a fleeting smile, a lingering tear. But what happens when that reflection is fractured, its surface marred by cracks? A mirror, once clear and whole, now distorts the image it reflects. Its energy, too, becomes fragmented. Growing up, my grandmother's house held an antique mirror, a family heirloom that had seen generations come and go. One day, a crack appeared, a fine, jagged line splitting its surface. Despite its sentimental value, my grandmother insisted on removing it. "A cracked mirror carries struggles," she would say. "It reflects not just the image but the pain." She believed that its broken surface held the power to amplify negativity, projecting it back into the home. When it was gone, something intangible shifted. The air felt lighter, the home more harmonious. Buddhist philosophy invites us to see the deeper truth in such stories. A cracked mirror symbolizes more than physical imperfection. It mirrors the impermanent nature of all things. Anicca, the truth of impermanence, teaches us that nothing remains unchanged. What once brought joy can become a source of pain if we cling to it beyond its time. Mirrors also remind us of the importance of self-reflection. When our perception of ourselves becomes fractured, when we see only flaws and distortions, we lose sight of our innate potential. The Buddha spoke of the middle way, a path of balance and clarity. Just as a mirror should provide a clear reflection, our minds should be free from distortion. When we let go of objects or thoughts that no longer serve us, we create space for clarity and growth. In practical terms, what do we do with cracked mirrors or broken things? The answer lies in mindful action. If a mirror is damaged, consider its impact on your space. Dispose of it respectfully, wrapping it carefully to prevent harm to others. If possible, repurpose it into something beautiful, a mosaic or an art piece, transforming its energy into something new. This act becomes a metaphor for life. Even what is broken can find purpose and meaning. Beyond the physical, this practice extends to our inner lives. How often do we hold onto the cracks in our self-image, old regrets, unresolved conflicts, or fears of inadequacy? Just as we release broken objects, we must learn to release these inner burdens. Through mindfulness and compassion, we can heal and restore balance. The Buddha's teachings on impermanence and the middle way guide us here. They remind us to approach life with gentleness and wisdom, to see cracks not as failures but as opportunities to grow. Like the mirror, our lives reflect what we choose to hold on to. By choosing love over fear, clarity over distortion, we transform our world into a sanctuary of peace, reflections, and lessons. These stories of found objects and cracked mirrors are more than cautionary tales. They are invitations to practice mindfulness in everyday life. In Buddhism, the smallest actions hold great significance. Picking up a coin, keeping a broken mirror. These choices ripple outward, shaping the energy of our homes and hearts. When we approach life with mindfulness, we begin to see the interconnectedness of all things. The objects we encounter are not isolated from their history or energy. They are part of a greater web of causes and conditions. By choosing carefully and acting with intention, we honor this truth. And yet, this practice is not about perfection. It is about presence. Mistakes will happen. We may invite the wrong energies into our lives or hold onto what no longer serves us. The path of Buddhism teaches us to meet these moments with compassion for ourselves and others. As the Buddha said, "With our thoughts, we make the world." By cultivating awareness and kindness, we transform not just our homes, but our entire lives. As you move forward, take a moment to reflect. What are the objects, thoughts, or relationships you carry that no longer align with your peace? What would it feel like to release them, to trust that letting go is not loss but freedom? Let these reflections inspire your journey. May your home become a sanctuary of positive energy, and may your heart find the clarity and wisdom to navigate life's impermanence with grace. Each step you take, each choice you make shapes your path. Walk it mindfully with courage and compassion. 3. Antique items with unknown origins. Objects from the past carry more than their physical form. They are silent witnesses to the times they have endured, the hands they have passed through, and the energies they have absorbed. Antiques, with their intricate designs and historical value, often captivate us. But have you ever wondered about the unseen stories they hold? Imagine finding a beautiful antique clock at a flea market. Its craftsmanship is exquisite, and you feel drawn to its uniqueness. This was exactly the experience of a friend of mine. She brought home an antique clock she discovered during her travels. Initially, it was a point of pride, adorning her living room as a symbol of history and art. But as weeks turned into months, subtle changes began to unfold. The once harmonious household became tense, with frequent disagreements that had no clear cause. Sleep seemed elusive, and a sense of unease lingered. In her search for answers, she delved into the clock's history and discovered it had been salvaged from a battlefield, a place marked by suffering and loss. Suddenly, the mystery of the household's unrest became clear. The clock was not merely a timepiece. It was a repository of the energy it had absorbed. Buddhism teaches us the law of pratyaya samutpada, or dependent origination. Nothing exists independently. Everything arises due to conditions and causes. The antique clock was not just a decorative object. It was a product of its context, shaped by the environment and events it had encountered. By bringing it into her home, my friend unknowingly invited the remnants of those conditions into her life. This experience brings to mind the Buddha's teachings on sakra, mental and physical formations that arise due to past actions. Just as our thoughts and emotions are influenced by our past experiences, so too are physical objects imbued with the energies of their origins. If you find yourself drawn to antiques, approach them with mindfulness. Reflect on their history and consider the potential energy they carry. Cleansing rituals, such as washing the item with salt water, exposing it to sunlight, or burning sage, can help neutralize any residual energy. However, as the Buddha taught in the Dhammapada, better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. If you sense that an object carries heavy energy, sometimes the wisest choice is to let it go. In our modern world, it is easy to become enchanted by the allure of the past. Antiques remind us of the impermanence of life, the passing of time, and the interconnectedness of all things. Yet, they also teach us to discern what we invite into our lives. Not everything old is sacred. Not everything beautiful is benign. By practicing mindfulness and compassion, we ensure that our homes remain sanctuaries of peace and harmony. 4. Gemstone jewelry, treasures or traps. Gemstones are nature's marvels, forged deep within the earth over millennia. They captivate us with their beauty, their rarity, and their promise of metaphysical properties. A ruby for passion, an amethyst for tranquility, a jade for protection. Each stone carries its own symbolic meaning. But beyond their physical allure lies an often overlooked truth. Gemstones are absorbers of energy. In a meditation group I once attended, a fellow practitioner shared her experience with a second-hand ruby ring. She had purchased it for its brilliance and the supposed good fortune it would bring. Yet, almost immediately after wearing it, she felt an uncharacteristic heaviness. Her emotions became turbulent, her meditative focus wavered, and her interactions grew strained. It was as though the ring had become a weight on her spirit. Upon advice from the group, she cleansed the ruby by placing it under sunlight and smudging it with sage. Over time, the stone seemed to regain its natural luster, and her emotional balance returned. The transformation was striking, a testament to the power of intention and energy. This story echoes a fundamental teaching of Buddhism, the law of karma. Just as our actions create ripples that influence our future, so too do objects carry the imprints of their past. A gemstone that has been worn by someone who experienced hardship or negativity may hold traces of that energy. When we bring such items into our lives, we invite their history to intermingle with our present. The Buddha taught that mindfulness is the key to liberation. When we approach objects, whether they are gemstones, antiques, or everyday items, with awareness, we begin to see beyond their surface. We recognize the interconnectedness of all things and take steps to harmonize our lives with that understanding. In practical terms, gemstones should be cleansed regularly, particularly if they are pre-owned. Sunlight and moonlight can recharge their energy, while salt water or sage can neutralize negativity. When purchasing new gemstones, consider the source. Ethical mining practices and transparent histories ensure that the stones align with positive energy. Gemstones also remind us of the Buddhist principle of anicca, impermanence. Their brilliance may last for centuries, but their energy, like all things, is in constant flux. By treating them with care and respect, we honor their journey while safeguarding our own. In life, we often seek external objects to bring us happiness or protection. Yet, as the Buddha taught in the Mangala Sutta, true blessings come not from material possessions but from inner virtues, contentment, wisdom, and compassion. A gemstone may amplify our intentions, but it is our actions and mindset that ultimately shape our reality. Reflecting on this, consider the treasures in your own life. Are they supporting your growth and peace, or are they burdens masked as beauty? By aligning our possessions with our values, we create a life that radiates harmony, much like the gemstones we cherish. 5. Dead clocks, symbols of stagnation. In the quiet of a room, a clock once ticked steadily, a faithful keeper of time, marking moments that passed unnoticed. But one day the ticking stopped, its hands froze, and with them, an almost imperceptible shift seemed to settle over the space. The stillness of the clock echoed in the room, not as peace, but as a sense of stagnation. In a small office I once visited, there was a clock hanging prominently on the wall. It had stopped working, its hands permanently pointing to a meaningless hour. It blended into the background, overlooked and forgotten, much like an unresolved worry tucked into the corners of one's mind. Over time, I noticed something unusual. The team in that office often spoke of delays, obstacles, and unfulfilled plans. It was as if the motionless clock mirrored their frustrations, silently amplifying the sense of being stuck. This small but poignant example illustrates an essential truth. In Buddhism, the flow of life is central to our understanding of impermanence, or anicca. The Buddha taught that everything is in constant flux. Life, emotions, relationships, even the cells in our bodies. A dead clock, symbolizing stagnation, disrupts this natural flow, creating an illusion of stillness that opposes the reality of constant change. Imagine your own life. Are there areas where you feel stuck, as if time itself has paused? Perhaps it's a project you can't seem to finish, a relationship that has grown stale, or a fear that holds you back from moving forward. The frozen hands of a clock serve as a quiet reminder of these moments, urging us to confront them with courage and mindfulness. The solution is not merely to fix or replace the clock, though this is a practical first step. It is to recognize that stagnation is often a reflection of our inner state. The Buddha's teachings on the Four Noble Truths guide us here. The first truth acknowledges the presence of suffering, while the second identifies its cause: attachment, aversion, or ignorance. A stopped clock becomes a metaphor for the ways we resist life's natural flow, clinging to the comfort of the familiar even when it no longer serves us. When we replace a dead clock with one that ticks again, we symbolically invite vitality back into our space. It is a small but meaningful act, a reminder that life moves forward whether we are ready or not. By aligning ourselves with this forward motion, we embrace the impermanence of all things, finding strength in the knowledge that even difficult moments will pass. In this way, a simple clock becomes a teacher, quietly pointing us toward the path of mindfulness and renewal. Let it inspire you to examine your own life. What has stopped moving, and how can you begin to set it in motion once more? 6. Roadside Rocks, carriers of stories. It is said that every stone holds a story. A pebble on the roadside might have weathered countless seasons, witnessed quiet moments of solitude, or been part of an untold tragedy. These unassuming objects, often overlooked, carry with them the energy of their origins, an energy that can influence the spaces they are brought into. A neighbor of mine, enchanted by the natural beauty of pebbles, once gathered a collection of stones from a quiet, rural road. She used them to create a small garden pathway, hoping to bring a sense of serenity to her home. But as time passed, she began to notice something unsettling. Her family's health seemed to decline without explanation, and an air of unease settled over the house. Seeking guidance, she shared her experience with a Feng Shui practitioner, who suggested the stones might carry heavy energy from their past. This led to a deeper investigation, revealing that the road where the stones were collected had once been the site of a burial ground, long forgotten but not erased. The stones were quietly removed and replaced with ethically sourced ones, and the household's energy began to shift toward harmony. This story resonates deeply with the Buddhist teaching of paticca samuppada, or dependent origination. Every effect has a cause, and every cause is interconnected with countless conditions. The stones, seemingly inert, were part of a larger web of history and energy. By bringing them into her home without mindfulness, my neighbor inadvertently invited their past into her present. It is a humbling reminder that even the smallest decisions can carry unseen consequences. In the modern world, where we are often disconnected from the origins of the things we use and consume, this lesson is especially pertinent. How often do we pause to consider the story of a piece of furniture, a gemstone, or even a meal? The Buddha emphasized mindfulness not only in thought and action but also in our relationships with the material world. If you are drawn to the beauty of stones or other natural objects, take a moment to reflect before bringing them into your space. Where did they come from? What energy might they carry? Cleansing rituals, such as washing stones in salt water or exposing them to sunlight, can help neutralize any residual energy. This practice is not rooted in superstition but in the recognition that everything we encounter is shaped by its past. Roadside rocks, in particular, hold a unique symbolism. They remind us of the impermanence and interconnectedness of all things. A stone that once lay undisturbed by the roadside becomes part of your life when you pick it up. This act creates a ripple, connecting you to its story and to the land from which it came. The Buddha's teachings on the Eightfold Path offer practical guidance here. By cultivating right mindfulness and right intention, we approach these interactions with respect and awareness. We learn to see the world not as a collection of separate objects but as a web of relationships, each one influencing the next. In reflecting on this, consider the stones in your own life, not just the physical ones, but the burdens and attachments you carry. Are they helping you build a path toward peace? Or are they weighing you down? By choosing what to hold on to and what to release, you create a life that aligns with your values and aspirations. The beauty of this practice lies in its simplicity. Whether it is a rock, a clock, or a memory, each decision becomes an opportunity to practice mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom. Through these small acts, we honor the interconnectedness of all things and find our place within the ever-changing flow of life. 7. The sharp energy of cacti. There is something undeniably captivating about the cactus. Its rugged beauty, resilience, and ability to thrive in harsh conditions evoke admiration. Yet, beneath its charm lies a duality that can disrupt the delicate balance of our living spaces. The sharp needles of a cactus, though protective in nature, also radiate an intense energy. In Feng Shui, this energy is often referred to as Qi or sharp energy, which is believed to interfere with the harmonious flow within intimate spaces. I remember a time when I decided to place a small cactus on my office desk. It was a gift meant to symbolize endurance and strength during a particularly challenging period in my career. At first, I admired its unique form, but over time, I began noticing subtle changes in my environment. Conversations with colleagues grew tense, misunderstandings arose, and the overall atmosphere of the workspace became strained. Initially, I dismissed the possibility of any connection between the cactus and these changes, but a deeper reflection brought me to a realization. In Buddhism, the principle of interconnectedness teaches us that nothing exists in isolation. Every element within our surroundings has the potential to influence our state of mind and the relationships we cultivate. The cactus, with its sharp needles, seemed to project a form of energetic defense, as if guarding against perceived threats. While this quality is valuable in certain contexts, it conflicted with the collaborative and open energy required in an office setting. The decision to move the cactus outdoors marked a subtle but profound shift. Almost immediately, the tension within the office began to dissipate, and harmony was restored. This small act of mindfulness served as a reminder of the importance of aligning our external environment with the energies we wish to cultivate internally. The sharp energy of cacti can serve a purpose when placed in appropriate locations. Outdoors, for instance, their protective energy can ward off negativity and create boundaries. Pairing them with softer, more nurturing plants like bamboo or ferns can help balance their intensity. This approach reflects the Buddhist teaching of the middle way, a path of moderation that avoids extremes and fosters harmony. In our personal lives, the presence of sharp energy can manifest in other forms, such as harsh words or defensive attitudes. The Buddhist teachings on right speech within the Eightfold Path encourage us to choose words that are kind, truthful, and constructive. Just as the cactus's needles can be softened by their surroundings, so too can our interactions become more compassionate when we consciously moderate our tone and intent. As you consider the placement of a cactus in your space, reflect on the qualities it embodies. Is it a symbol of strength and resilience, or does it amplify a defensive energy that may not serve you? By aligning your choices with your intentions, you create an environment that supports your well-being and fosters peace. 8. Photos of deceased non-family members. Photographs have an extraordinary ability to capture moments, preserve memories, and hold the essence of those depicted within them. Yet, their presence in our spaces carries an energy that can profoundly influence the atmosphere of our homes. When we display photos of loved ones, their familiar faces often evoke warmth and a sense of connection. But what happens when the faces in the photos belong to those we do not know or share no bond with, especially those who have passed away? A dear friend of mine once inherited a portrait of a distant ancestor. The painting was stunning, a masterpiece of artistry, but it portrayed a person whose life was shrouded in mystery. She displayed it prominently in her living room, admiring its beauty and historical significance. Over time, however, an inexplicable heaviness seemed to permeate the space. Guests often remarked on the somber atmosphere, and my friend herself began to feel uneasy in her own home. In Buddhist thought, everything carries a vibration, a subtle essence that extends beyond its physical form. Photos and portraits, in particular, are imbued with the energy of the people they depict. When the energy of a photograph aligns with our own, it can enhance the harmony of our environment. But when there is a disconnect, when the subject of the photo is unfamiliar or their energy incompatible, it can create a subtle sense of disharmony. The law of karma reminds us that actions and energies leave imprints. Just as our thoughts and deeds shape our present and future, so too do the energies of objects and images influence the spaces they inhabit. In the case of my friend, the photograph may have carried unresolved energies from the life it depicted, energies that clashed with the sanctuary she sought to create. Ultimately, she made the decision to store the portrait in a quiet, less frequented area of her home. To her surprise, this simple act brought an immediate sense of relief. The living room regained its warmth, and she felt a renewed sense of ease. This experience illustrated the importance of being mindful about the items we surround ourselves with, especially those that hold a deep emotional or spiritual resonance. If you find yourself in possession of a photo of someone you do not know or share a connection with, take a moment to reflect on its presence in your life. Does it bring a sense of joy and peace, or does it evoke feelings of unease? Trust your intuition. If the latter, consider relocating the photo or storing it respectfully. Cleansing rituals, such as smudging with sage or placing the photo in sunlight, can help neutralize any lingering energy. The Buddha often emphasized the importance of creating an environment conducive to mindfulness and spiritual growth. This principle extends to our physical spaces, which should reflect the clarity, compassion, and peace we seek within ourselves. By thoughtfully curating the objects and images in our homes, we create a sanctuary that nurtures our well-being and aligns with our highest aspirations. As you examine the photos in your space, consider the stories they tell and the energies they bring. Let them be reminders of love, inspiration, and connection. And if there are images that no longer serve you, release them with gratitude for the lessons they have imparted. In doing so, you make room for new energies to flow, creating a space where your spirit can thrive. 9. The subtle danger of found phones. In today's world, where technology has become an inseparable part of our lives, the sight of a phone lying abandoned on the street can evoke mixed emotions: curiosity, temptation, and even a sense of duty to help reunite it with its owner. But beneath this seemingly harmless scenario lies a subtle danger, not just in the practical risks, but in the unseen energies and karmic implications that such an act might invite. A colleague of mine once found a sleek, expensive-looking phone while walking home from work. Her initial reaction was one of concern. She thought about how distraught the owner must be and decided to take it home with the intention of returning it. However, the situation quickly turned sour. Within hours, she received a frantic call from someone claiming to be the phone's owner. The person accused her of theft and demanded compensation for alleged damages. What started as an act of kindness spiraled into an ordeal of anxiety and self-doubt. It became clear later that this was part of a scam, one designed to prey on those with good intentions. This story, though distressing, offers a valuable lesson in mindfulness and detachment. The Buddha often taught about the importance of right intention and action as part of the Eightfold Path. While the intent to do good is noble, it must be accompanied by discernment and wisdom. Picking up a found phone, even with the best of intentions, can unknowingly entangle us in situations that disrupt our peace of mind and balance. Beyond the practical risks, there is an energetic dimension to consider. In Buddhist philosophy, the law of karma reminds us that every action carries consequences, not only in the physical sense but also on a subtle, energetic level. A phone is a deeply personal item, containing the essence of its owner's thoughts, emotions, and daily activities. By picking up and holding onto such an object, we may unintentionally invite the energies associated with it into our own lives. Think for a moment about the emotional weight a phone can carry. It might be a vessel for cherished memories, but it could also hold traces of its owner's struggles, fears, and frustrations. This is not to suggest that all found objects are inherently harmful, but it highlights the importance of being mindful of the energy we interact with. The Buddha often used the analogy of a garden to describe the mind. Just as we are careful about the seeds we plant in our garden, we must be cautious about the influences we allow into our mental and spiritual space. In situations like these, the most compassionate and wise choice might be to leave the item where it is or hand it over to the authorities. This approach not only ensures that the rightful owner has the best chance of recovering their property, but also protects us from becoming entangled in unnecessary complications. It is an act of trust in the universe, a recognition that we do not need to control every outcome to align with goodness and justice. This idea of letting go resonates deeply with the Buddhist teaching of anicca, or impermanence. When we come across something that does not belong to us, our attachment to it, whether driven by curiosity, a desire to help, or even greed, can create suffering. By practicing detachment and trusting that the situation will resolve itself in the way it is meant to, we free ourselves from the burden of unnecessary involvement. Reflecting on this, I am reminded of a parable from the Buddhist teachings. A man once saw a bird trapped in a hunter's net. Filled with compassion, he wanted to free the bird, but he realized that pulling on the net hastily could injure the bird further. Instead, he chose to untangle the net with patience and care, allowing the bird to fly free without harm. The lesson here is clear. Even when our intentions are pure, our actions must be guided by mindfulness and wisdom to avoid unintended harm. In modern life, this principle applies not only to found phones, but to any situation where we are faced with the temptation to act impulsively. A shiny object on the street, an enticing opportunity, or even a seemingly innocent relationship, all can carry unseen risks if approached without awareness. The Buddhist teaching of Sammasati, right mindfulness, encourages us to pause, reflect, and act with clarity, ensuring that our actions are aligned with our values and the greater good. As we navigate a world filled with complexities, the simplest acts can become profound opportunities for growth and learning. The next time you encounter a found phone, consider this: what is the wisest and most compassionate course of action? By choosing to act with mindfulness and detachment, you not only protect yourself but also honor the interconnectedness of all beings. This small but significant decision becomes a step toward living a life of integrity and peace. Ultimately, the lessons we draw from such experiences extend far beyond the immediate moment. They remind us of the power of intention, the importance of discernment, and the value of letting go. In doing so, we cultivate not only our own well-being, but also contribute to a world where trust, kindness, and wisdom flourish. Let this be a gentle reminder that every choice, no matter how small, is an opportunity to embody the teachings of the Buddha and create a life rooted in compassion and clarity. As we come to the close of today's journey, let's pause to reflect on the deeper lesson. Each item we bring into our home tells a story, not just about itself, but about the choices we make. Are we choosing objects that support our growth, peace, and prosperity? Or are we unconsciously clinging to things that disrupt our balance? Remember the mirror I mentioned earlier? Letting it go wasn't just about removing a physical object. It was a symbolic act of clearing space for something better. It reminded me of a teaching from the Buddha. Attachment leads to suffering. When we hold on to things that no longer serve us, whether they're physical items, relationships, or outdated beliefs, we create barriers to our happiness. Now, I invite you to take a moment. Look around your living space. What items bring you joy and lightness? Which ones feel heavy or out of place? Trust your intuition. If something doesn't align with the peace you want to cultivate, it might be time to let it go. Finally, I'd like to leave you with a question. What does your home say about the energy you want to invite into your life? Reflect on this and let it guide you as you make choices that nurture your spirit and your space. If you found today's discussion meaningful, please like this video, share it with friends who might benefit, and subscribe to Lotus Light Teachings for more inspiring content. Together, we can create lives filled with mindfulness, harmony, and joy. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Until next time, may your home be a sanctuary of light, and may your days be filled with peace and prosperity. Take care and see you soon.